There is a feeling deep within you that there's something more for you, and perhaps you've put it off long enough. And let's see what we can awaken today and cultivate conscious moments. I will be right back. Good, glorious morning, everyone. Welcome to April 23rd. My name is Austin James Haynes, and I wanted to open this up with first, I'm bringing back the hourglass as a reminder to dial into the moment. There's something captivating about just watching the sand flow through, and it's a reminder that life is happening right now. No matter what happens up here, life is happening right now. And I'm going to share, I had spent 21 years of my life on a quota. And during that time, much of that time, I felt there was something more for me. I felt like there was something deeper happening, but I just put it aside. I put it aside, and I felt this, I call it a low level dis-ease or discontent. I felt this discontent inside for many, many, many years. And it was just below the surface. And sometimes it would bubble up to the surface, but most of the time it was below the surface. And the change that I'm undergone in the past 5 years is beyond anything that I could have ever scripted. It's beyond anything that I could have ever put in a business plan. It's so deep and profound that there's not enough words to describe it. But what I want to do is I want to share a couple poems with you today. This is one I just wrote this morning. It's a simple poem, but I want it to speak to you this morning. Hearken, the word hearken, to listen intently. So the word hearken, I know you've heard this word before. To give respectful attention, to bring to mind something. Hearken. Hearken, do you hear? Hearken, your inner voice now speaks. Hearken, your old army of thoughts have dropped their weapons. Hearken, the time has come to awake. Hearken, avoid going back to sleep. Hearken, you knew this day would come. Hearken, arise. The courage is already in you, waiting for your summon. Hearken, the morning dove is calling you home. Hearken, the morning dove is calling you home. And the morning dove symbolizes love, hope, renewal, and peace. The morning dove symbolizes love, hope, renewal, and peace. Hearken, the morning dove is calling you home. I believe that there's something that is inside of you that has struggled to come to the surface. Something that lingers just below the surface. It's like this paradox of this discontent But the discontent is the bridge between the life you're living and this deeper call. And the discontent, when we initially feel it, we avoid it. We resist the discontent because it has a negative feeling. But that negative feeling is the bridge to what you seek. And this is really interesting because wow, I I believe this is why most people don't answer the call, because the discontent they feel, they avoid it. I know this was the case for me. 21 years on a quota, I put that part of myself aside and I felt this low level discontent because they didn't want to face the discontent, because the discontent felt uncomfortable, painful. It was attached to my own feelings of inferiority in some way, and I avoided it for many years. But that is the door. That is the gateway. Before I move on, I wanted to start this new thing. How is the weather, the weather inside of you this morning? So let's see, what kind of weather, what are you feeling? Are you feeling, is it rainy, gloomy, cloudy, gray? Is it partly cloudy? Is the sun coming through? Like, how are you feeling inside? Is it sunny? If you could pick a weather condition that's associated with how you feel inside, throw that out there and let me see, and I'll get your shares. In other words, are you feeling like blue skies and sunny inside? Are you feeling like a tornado? Are you feeling like a volcano, like you're about to erupt? So we have Mary Lee here on TikTok. What if you don't have a home of your own? Most of my discontent. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, this is a good question. I'm going to hit that question. Let me just check in on our other live stream here. Okay. And I have another poem I'm going to share with you. So, Mary Lee, yes. Now, I just want to acknowledge what's going on. That's the first thing we need to do. So, you are in a home that's not your own. Someone else owns the home. So, let's think about that for a while, right? Let's think, if for any of us, if we were in someone's home, unless you have a really good relationship with them, let's just say, where's that discontent coming from? Let's just get the question. Is the discontent coming from your own internal weather, that you don't want to be there, that you feel like you've been reduced to living in someone else's home? Is the discontent coming from the conflict in the relationship because maybe you don't get along with the person? Like, where is the discontent coming from? Because you're saying that's most of your discontent. And we know it can be upsetting to live in someone else's home. So it's not a good relationship. So that's the truth. So it's very frustrating, and financially also. But your weather condition is partly sunny. So that means that you're feeling like there's some sun breaking through, and you are some sense of hope. So the first thing that we need to do is kind of sit with the situation. We are, me included, addicted to content. One of the things I wrote in my journal today is non-content. And what is non-content? Non-content is the ability to be present. It's to cultivate that conscious moment. And that conscious moment is when you become aware of your situation. Imagine a room. Imagine let me think here. Is a good way to put this. Okay, I'm just going to go for it. It'll come out. Imagine if you walk into a beautiful room. A beautiful room has got all these different angles and architecture. But every day you get up, you walk into this room, and you just start throwing paint on the wall. You just start ripping paint on the wall. And you're like, you look at the room, you're like, wow, I don't like that room. And then you go back because the paint, you didn't like the way the paint went on the walls. And then you go back to sleep. You wake up the next day and the room is white again. And then you just start throwing paint again. You're like, why did I do that? It's the same result. And then you go back to sleep, you wake up and the room is white. And I liken this to our day. We get up, we start swinging our thoughts around like a paintbrush with colors. We just start throwing the paint on everything. We don't like we don't walk into the room. So now let me give you this other scenario. You walk into the room on let's say the fourth day. And instead of throwing paint on the walls, you just start looking at the angles. You just start noticing the way the angles run in the architecture. You're not putting any paint on the walls. And then you ask yourself a question. What would really make this room really beautiful and nice and uplift my spirit? And so instead of putting paint on the walls, you go back to sleep again. And then maybe while you sleep, you wake up in the morning and you're in between sleep and wake. And all of a sudden, these colors and the way it goes on the wall pops in your mind. And now you're like, oh my gosh, you're inspired. And then you run out and you get the paint. And now you're actively painting and you're actively engaged and you're putting colors on the wall that are beautiful. And now you end the day fulfilled and you're like, wow. And you're appreciating what you've done. And so this is a long way to say that every day we get up, we just start throwing paint. We don't sit with it. So your situation that you're in, can you sit with it and start to ask questions of it? And so instead of judging it, this person's unbearable, look what they did today, and hot and cold wars. And you know how it goes in relationships when they're in conflict. We have hot and cold wars. We're passive aggressive, or we're just aggressive. And some people are just aggressive. They tell it like it is, right? This is the way it is. You did this and boom, I'm going to tell you like it is. And other people don't tell you. And then they start, like, if you put the coffee maker in the wrong spot, they're going to wake up and they're going to do something. They're going to, to make it, to put a note, coffee maker stays here, or, like passive aggressive behavior. We've all been subjected to these things. And can we sit with it and not judge it and be okay with it? Sister, we got some folks joining. What does this situation mean? Because here's what's going to happen. We learn more in our failures, our down moments. It's not what we want to hear. It's not what we want to be in, but yeah, I've heard of that. Yep. Yeah, have you ever lived with an energy vampire? It's difficult when she doesn't talk. Right. So it's passive aggressive. Passive aggressive. People don't tell you how they feel because they can't deal with their own feelings. They're trying to make sense of their own life. And then they blame. Or they make it really uncomfortable because they don't want you there anymore. They want you out. Let me read this other poem. You don't have to answer to her, right? Let's talk about that. Let me read this poem. If you wanted to drown, you could, but you don't. Because finally, after all this struggle and all these years, you simply don't want to anymore. You've simply had enough of drowning. and you don't want to live, and you let me back up. I'm going to start over. If you wanted to drown, you could, but you don't. Because finally, after all this struggle and all these years, you simply don't want to anymore. You've simply had enough of drowning, and you want to live, and you want to love, and you will walk across any territory and any darkness, however fluid and however dangerous, to take the one hand you know belongs in yours. That's by David White. He's a poet I recently discovered. I'll be sharing more of his work, and I'm going to be hopefully meeting him at some point in the future. But let me read this again. If you wanted to drown, you could, but you don't, because you finally, after all this struggle and all these years, you simply don't want to anymore. You've simply had enough of drowning. And you want to live, and you want to love, and you will walk across any territory and any darkness, however fluid and however dangerous, to take the one hand you know belongs in yours. That's by David White. And sometimes you've had enough of having enough, and then you make a change. Hearken, do you hear? Hearken, your inner voice now speaks. Hearken, your old army of thoughts have dropped their weapons. Hearken, the time has come to awake. Hearken, avoid going back to sleep. Hearken, you knew this day would come. Hearken, arise, the courage is already in you, waiting for your summons. Hearken, the morning dove is calling you home. And the morning dove symbolizes love, hope, and renewal. My name is Austin James Haynes, 19-year employee to a poet. Cultivate conscious moments when you feel fully alive. And I'm just going to read this line again here. Hello, Bluegrass. Give you a little shout out there. Your old army of thoughts have dropped their weapons. Hearken, your old army of thoughts have dropped their weapons. Live life. Live life now. Live life now. Live life now. What does it mean to live life now? What does it mean to drop the weapons of your old thinking and step fully into this moment? Discover what it means for you to be alive. Navigate through the catacombs, because the mind never stops. The mind is addicted to content. If you don't believe me, just look at TikTok. TikTok has become the epitome of content consumption. It's like machine gun, rapid fire. And that's why they're trying to move everybody toward long form. Don't know if that's going to work, but they're going to try. So I'm going to end the live stream here on YouTube, not on YouTube. And then if you let me do this, I'm just going to do this real time here. So this was something that I wanted to do. So we're going to take this and yeah, here we go. Go to at Austin James and YouTube. I have these videos are queued up there. You're going to want to go over there because I'm going to have more content for you. So this is what it looks like. Just scratching it out. Just Google my name, Austin James Haynes, all this stuff. There's a website. And if this is serving you, I just ask that you do something. That's all. Just do one thing. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go check out my website. I'm going to be revising it. I'm going to have live events coming up again where we're going to get together. And I'm really going to be focusing on poetry, presence, nature, and relationships. I'm going to definitely start talking more about relationships because it's our greatest opportunity for growth, fulfillment, community, building community again. I'm going to be touring the world. I want to get together with people in person. There's so much power in getting folks together in person, especially in this digital world. I'm going to use the digital. I'm going to use it as a tool. And then I'm going to get together people live in person. So I'm going to grab your shares on TikTok. I'm going to shut down the YouTube. Have a great day, everyone. God bless. This is Cultivate Conscious Moments with Austin James Haynes, 19-year employee to poet. Have a beautiful day.